Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 889, September the 6th, 2019, Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Boy, aren't you glad it's Friday. I sure am. Boy, me and my boss and a couple other people. We had a rough week. Let's just put it that way. Not a good week. Let's put it that way, yeah. The boss flew into town on Tuesday to chew a little ass. So me and my boss and my other coworker, we've been growing our asses back for the past 3 days, and things are going pretty well. But we'll survive. You know how that goes. Okay. Now let's go ahead and we have some very important news today, so we're going to get right to that. Let's start off first with some humor. The CNN Climate Change Marathon. How many of you watched the CNN Climate Change Marathon? Raise your hand. I'm thinking nobody in this group. I've read the comment section. Now, I'm pretty sure no one could sit through that freak show. Unfortunately, it's my job to actually do that. Now, of course, I couldn't actually sit through 7 hours of anything CNN or climate change related. But fortunately, someone put together a sort of a best of clip, which I could watch in 5 to 10 minutes or so, like 7-8 minute video of basically the highlights. Oh boy, that's all I needed to see. But I pretty much knew. I mean, I didn't have to watch this. I've been paying attention to this for quite some time, so I know basically what these people are going to say. I don't have to sit there and put myself through 7 hours of marathon to know what they're going to say. I think we all understand what their basic points are that they're going to try to make regarding climate change. Basically, the gist of it, I think, is that the demo commies want to ban everything, including fun. They want to ban everything. And of course, when they got to Bernie Sanders, I watched that little snippet of Bernie, a couple snippets of Bernie, and at one point he's actually talking about using abortion laws to achieve a goal of population control. Man, oh man. See, people look at old Bernie and they have no idea. They think they have no idea what a tyrannical son of a bitch he is. This dude is total tyranny, man. I want to tell you what. If Bernie Sanders, now he wouldn't want to be the president because that's not the a socialist system. President has to negotiate and compromise. Bernie would not be a negotiate and compromise sort of leader. Bernie is a dictator. Bernie would be a dictator. He wants to tell you what you're going to do, and that's one of his major failings, of course. But I really dialed in on that population control thing because this goes back to something that's been a part of the Democrat philosophy for a very long time. I mean, these people really are serious about population control, and they do like to specifically target certain groups of people. In other words, they're not for like general population control across the board. No. They want to target certain types of people that they want to control. How much they reproduce. Not the elites, of course. No. The elites, no, they can reproduce, they can produce, thousands and thousands of offspring. But it's certain groups of people, that they want to limit and not let them reproduce. All you have to do is go back to the early days of the Margaret Sanger Foundation. And we know very well all about that because she's from Cincinnati. She was also wildly popular back in her day. She was revered as this really forward-thinking person, really progressive-thinking person. George W. Bush's grandfather was a huge fan and a financial backer of Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger was a big fan of Adolf Hitler. Oh, yes. She was a cosmopolitan woman, and he was a cosmopolitan man. And he also believed in that type of thing. And that's why they were, joined at the hip, you might say. So, anyway, we know that the Democrats are all about population control and all sorts of other tyranny. But basically, they want to ban everything, and especially, again, ban anything that would have anything to do with fun or anything that would taste good, like a hot dog, a cheeseburger, anything involving beef. No, we can't have beef. Can't use anything plastic. We can't use any type of fuel other than some sort of green energy, which no one has been able to actually explain at this point. Windmills, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. There's no such thing as green energy, really. Maybe 2% wind, various things like that. But really, it's crazy, okay? It's crazy. And these people are crazy. And again, I didn't have to watch for 7 hours to figure it out. But in terms of the idea with population control, as I'm watching Bernie explain that, it all sort of crystallized for me, and I came to a real understanding of what they're actually talking about. And now I understand all these policies, wildly unpopular, I might add, policies of the demo commies, and how it ties directly to population control, which is something they're all very interested in. So here, I think, is what we're actually having to understand here, is what I'm coming to understand, is that the reason why they want all these wildly unpopular policies to take away everything that tastes good or is fun is because the demo commies want to create policies that will make us all miserable and very unhappy. Why? Because if we're all really miserable and unhappy, we'll kill ourselves. Mass suicides, that's their plan. Get in power, implement lots of very unpopular policies that are no fun and don't taste very good, so that we all just finally go, man, life just totally sucks. I can't have cheeseburgers, I can't have a big fat steak, I can't get on my private plane and fly to a golf course and play a little golf, I can't swim in the oceans, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't eat this, I can't think this, I can't want to do... You can't do anything. You can't do anything. Life just becomes no fun. It's just a bitch at that point. At which point people just say, why the hell do this? Let's just kill ourselves. Yes, that's right. Mass executions. That's what the Democrats are for. Put in place such terrible policies that people are so miserable that we all kill ourselves. And they achieve population control. There you go. I figured it out. Yeah, it was really bad. And no, I couldn't sit through 7 hours of that. Just I watched, like I said, about a 7-8 minute clip and caught the highlights. But we know the thing is you're looking at these frauds, and these people are all total frauds. Trust me on this, total frauds. I guarantee you that every single one of those frauds in the demo commie party standing on that stage, or those people over at CNN, Blitzer and all those other people, I guarantee you that every damn one of them has 10 times the carbon footprint that you or I or any of us have. Most of us just live in a house. We just drive a regular car. And we just, work a regular job or do whatever. These people are constantly jet-setting around. Buttigieg logged in over, what? I think it was, 300,000 miles or something in air travel on a private jet since he's been running for president. Yet he's going to lecture us about why we should drive a freaking Hugo. These people are huge frauds. They have massive carbon footprints. All of them. Huge carbon footprints. Yet, they lecture all of us. Here's Obama, buys a $15 million property, which leaves a huge carbon footprint. He has another home worth $8 million. He has, I believe, another home in Hawaii. No telling how much that's worth. He jet sets all around the world. Yet, he constantly is telling us about how we have to cut back and reduce our carbon footprint. So this is how it is for the elitists. Remember, it was Prince Charles, who stood up there and made that speech with Bill Gates and all those other people sitting there, the Queen and the whole 9 yards, all the Euro idiots sitting there. And Prince Charles said that he hopes that there is reincarnation, and that if he's reincarnated, he wants to come back as a virus that will wipe out half the planet. The population of half the planet, but not his folks. No. He's talking about specifically certain groups of people, if you know what I mean. The undesirables, the deplorables, if you know what I mean. That's how nuts these people are. And this is why they're so wildly unpopular. And they are going to get the ass kicking of their lives in 2020. I promise you that. I'll get back to that. Let's move on. We have We have Biden, literally Biden. You talk about a crazy thing to say. He says he absolutely would appoint Barack Obama for the Supreme Court if he were president. I really wish he would. First of all, Obama doesn't want the job, right? Obama doesn't want the job. He's literally no telling how much money he's worth at this point. I have no idea, but we know if he can buy a $15 million spread, and he's already got an $8 million spread, and another spread in Hawaii. He travels around the world. I have no idea what this guy does for a living. He's never owned a business. I don't know what where does this guy get all this money? But he seems to have an unlimited supply of it. So he travels around the world. He's on vacation 365 days a year. Why the hell would he want to go back to Washington, live in Washington, work in Washington, and be in the Supreme Court, where he would likely be in the minority? He wouldn't like that very much. But more importantly, and the reason why this would never happen, and the reason why Obama would never even, he would reject it if Biden said, yeah, I'm president now, hey, let me nominate you for Supreme Court. Obama would run as fast as he could the other way. Joe, don't ever call me again, and don't ever ask me that question again. It's because he would have to sit in front of the Senate and be confirmed. Can you imagine that? Now you would actually have a reason to sit there and go through his entire political life about every single thing he did, because Supreme Court justices get grilled pretty hard, and every single one of these scandals and crimes that he has been involved in would certainly come up, from Fast and Furious to the IRS scandal to Spygate to everything in the world you can think of. Hanging out with Farrakhan. I mean, all this type of... It would all come back up. All the things he said, all the things he did. We don't even know who the freaking guy is. We don't know what his name is even, really. We don't know where he spent most of his life. All of his college records have been basically locked up under seal. I mean, he's got this secret, past. I mean, a guy like that would never sit in front of a Senate committee hearing and allow himself to be opened, I guess you might say. And have his secrets revealed to the world. I don't think so. This guy wants to stay as far away from anything like that as he possibly can. So no, Obama would never subject himself to a hearing in the Senate to be nominated for the Supreme Court. And if Biden had a lick of sense in his head, he would know this. And this is exactly why Obama doesn't support Biden, because he knows Biden's a straight up idiot. Straight up idiot. To even make that suggestion. But no, you will never see Obama on the Supreme Court. I can assure you that, because he'll never put himself through the process, and he wouldn't make it through the process. He would not make it. He would not make it. Man, after a couple of days, it'd be over. Over. In fact, the only thing he might do is end up revealing crimes that he committed. That's probably the best he would do in a Supreme Court hearing. Okay, so let's see. Yes, we know this story is coming back now about the FBI never actually searching the laptop of Anthony Weiner until after the 2016 election. Of course, we've talked a lot about this. I don't have time to go into this again. Hopefully, you're familiar with what I'm talking about, and that is that the FBI, in the process of investigating Anthony Weiner, discovered his computer with the dick pics on it. But they also discovered a file on that, or a folder on that computer called Insurance Policy, and within that folder they find 655,000 emails pertaining to the Rotten Reverend Clinton, his wife Huma Abedin, and these things have to do with State Department business. And apparently there was a leak from Eric Prince to a journalist who says he is a source. It told him there's stuff in there about pay for play, the Clinton Foundation, Epstein's Island, just a list, a host of just crazy stuff. Maybe true, maybe not true, I don't know. But we do know there was 655,000 emails on that, in that folder. We do know that McCabe sat on it for over a month. Sat on it. We know whatever was there on that Weiner laptop was so bad that it forced Loretta Lynch to call the investigators down there in the FBI in the Southern District and say, hey, if you have a press conference or say anything about what's on what you discovered, she threatened to take down I guess the police chief, the detective, a couple cops who were associated with the Eric Garner death. And so she made some pretty harsh threats because they were threatening to go public, because they knew that the FBI main justice had the laptop of Anthony Weiner, and they knew what was on it, and they expected something to be done about it. But when McCabe sat on it, ticked off these guys down in New York because they thought they were going to be scapegoated, and so they threatened to go public, and that triggered this call from Lynch to them saying, hey, if you say a word about this or go public or anything like that, I'm going to take down so-and-so, 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 right on down, all the way down to the cops who were involved in the Eric Garner thing, all the way to the top. So she scared the leadership to death and threatened them, and so they backed off. We also found out later that apparently Peter's been stroking us, and Trish Gallhow, or whatever her name is, and one other person, Moyer, I think Mary Moyer, supposedly went through all them emails and 24 hours and decided there was nothing there. So Peter's been stroking us was involved, of course, in that. And I've been saying for a very long time we need to take a look at that Wiener laptop. Now, as it turns out, as a part of that subpoena, there was also a subpoena not just for Wiener's laptop, but for 2 other devices, one being an iPad and the other being an iPhone. And so we're now learning that the iPad and iPhone are missing. Now, I can't confirm this, but months and months ago, when we were following this very closely, and everyone was trying to figure out where the Wiener laptop was, we had learned through various sources that the Wiener laptop actually had been returned to Anthony's Wiener. But apparently the iPhone and the iPad are missing. They are missing. I wonder if Andy McCabe or Peter's been stroking us could enlighten us as to where we might find the iPad and the iPhone of Anthony's Wiener. So that's what everyone's talking about there. If you've heard people talking about that, that's what they're talking about. It appears that the two of the devices that were subpoenaed, the iPhone and the iPad, no one knows where they're at. They're missing. Why should that surprise us? Why should that surprise any of us? It's the way things go in the swamp. If the evidence is bad, destroy it. There you go. To protect the deep state and all their friends who have the goods on them, because they all have the goods on each other. One goes down, they all go down. You got to take care of each other in the swamp. Well, we have Hiawatha, basically in her little spiel at the climate marathon, said that we only have 11 years left. 11 years is all we have left. Well, you know what I'd love to do? Elizabeth Warren is worth $12 million, as I understand. I really wish we could get like a GoFundMe and get like $1 million that we could all pledge, like get a million people to pledge $1, get $1 million in a GoFundMe, and then we could make a bet with Elizabeth Warren. And we could put the money into an interest-bearing account so that we could all make interest on our $1 investment. And we could make a bet with Elizabeth Warren, $1 million bet, that in 11 years from now, things will pretty much be the way they are now. Things will be pretty much the way they are now. We'll still be using fossil fuels, we'll still be flying in jets, we'll still be eating cows, we'll still be doing all the things we do, and the climate will be just fine. And I would love to make that bet with Warren, better at $1 million, so that 11 years from now, if we're still here and the planet has not been destroyed, or all the population hasn't left the planet or died in 11 years, because she says 11 years is all we have left. Make a bet with Elizabeth Warren that in 11 years everything will be just fine. And if she loses that bet, if we are just fine, and the planet doesn't blow up and the people don't all die or starve to death or whatever, then she would have to pay $1 million. So that way we would all get the $1 million plus the $1 million we had in an interest-bearing account, and we could then divide up the money. And we could turn our $1 into probably, by that time, in 11 years, probably, $8 or $9, $10, $12. Not a bad return on investment. Invest $1, get back 10, 12, 13 bucks, something like that. That'd be nice. Plus, we could prove she's a fraud. And she knows she's a fraud. 11 years left. That's stupid. That's just stupid. And she knows it. But then again, she knows that her audience is really stupid. That's the advantage that she has. The low information voter. That is her. That is who Elizabeth Warren is targeting. The low information voter. She's a dumbass. And if she runs against Trump, he'll destroy her. Well, of course, I guess everyone saw that Biden got a little case of red eye. A little case of red eye. That's the last thing he needed, was for his eye to blow up in the climate change debate. Now, if he were smart, he would have used that in his speech there at the climate change marathon. But he's not quite smart enough to do that, so he just looked bad. But this is just another nail in the coffin of crazy Joe Biden. As I said, and as I have been saying even before he officially entered the race, he is not going to be the nominee, and I'm pretty damn sure of that. But if I'm wrong, I'll be seriously happy, really, really happy, because he will get destroyed. Trump will beat Biden, probably against Biden. He'll probably win at least 40 states, maybe 42, something like that. If it is... if it's not Biden, and I don't think it will be, I don't think he's going to make it, and it's Warren or Sanders, which would be the only two real possibilities after that, then Trump would win somewhere between 44 and 47 states in a massive blowout landslide. Now, again, I do believe that the Right Reverend Clinton is going to be probably the nominee, but she'll even get destroyed. She'll get beat worse than she got beat last time, because the far lefties are not going to come out and vote for Hillary in large numbers. They certainly didn't in 2016, and they'll be furious if she's the nominee in 2020, because again, the party has shifted so far left, even from 2016, that she'll be considered right-wing. And the energetic part of their base, all those people will not come out and vote for the Right Reverend Clinton. They'll go Green Party. So she will get destroyed. And there's not a single person I can see, whether it's Biden, Warren, Sanders. If it's Sanders or Warren, they'll just get destroyed. That will be 45, 46, 47 state landslide victory for Trump. Biden, he still wins probably 40, 42 states. Hillary, same as Biden probably. Trump will probably win upwards of 40 states. So you can be happy about one thing on this Friday, that 2020, it's going to be a landslide win for Trump. And keep in mind, between now and then, the Horowitz report's going to come out, and we're going to get to the end at some point of the Durham investigation. Now, even if, and I don't think this will happen, but even if there's no indictments of anybody, at the very least, what he's going to learn, and what we're going to find out, what most of us already know, is going to be so damaging to the Democrats, and so demoralizing to the Democrats, that it'll be the combination of their horrible, horrible field of candidates and their totally unacceptable policies that just simply aren't plausible in a national election. The combination of those two things, what we learn from the corruption of the 2016 election, and the combination of the very bad candidates with horrible policies, it's the combination of those two things that are going to result in a massive landslide victory for Trump. Even if there's not a single indictment, just learning what did happen, and in a combination of that with the horrible policies and the horrible candidates that they're putting up, it's just Trump has no choice but to win a major landslide. So you can be very happy about that. But we do need the indictments. We do need charges against the people who committed the criminal acts. I believe that that's going to happen. But even if it does not happen, it's still the Democrats are absolutely setting themselves up for a massive, massive defeat in 2020. So you can take some happiness from that. There's a new poll out. Now, this is a national poll, and this is a Change Research poll. I'm not familiar with them. I don't really like national polls. I prefer like RCP and things like that. Averages of polls, because you can kind of throw out the top poll, throw out the bottom one, and add up everything in the middle. You probably get close. But this poll, it's a national poll. I'm not familiar with Change Research, but it's being reported. It's being reported in quite a few publications today, that Warren is currently sitting at 29, Sanders at 22, and Biden at 19. That's a national poll. Warren 29, Sanders 22, and Biden 19. And if you look at the polling they're doing in Iowa, you look at New Hampshire, it's very likely that Warren could win Iowa. It's very possible that Warren and Sanders will certainly beat Biden in New Hampshire, and at that point, he's pretty much done if he makes it that far. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Biden's going to make it. I do not see it. Now, this next story here is not really a story so much, just a comment. you look at these people out in Hollywood, and I guess a lot of them like to pass themselves off as being smart or educated or whatever, but I have to tell you, I've been watching these people for a very long time. These are literally the stupidest people in the country. I just don't know, it's not all of them, but I'm saying an awful lot of these people out in Hollywood are some of the stupidest people you could ever imagine. And one of the absolute stupidest person, and I hope she's watching this video right now, would be Barbara Streisand. Barbara Streisand, I've been watching her for a very long time. She is absolutely dumber than a rock. I'm serious about that. I think a rock has more going on than Barbara Streisand. She is literally devoid of any sense whatsoever. The woman has no sense. I think she's dumber than dirt. And she comes out and makes a comment that the Electoral College is an assault on democratic principles. Now, you have to be completely dumber than a rock to make that statement. You cannot understand anything about the Constitution, and specifically about the Electoral College, and think that it's an assault on democracy. It was, in fact, the complete 180 degrees opposite of that. It was to make sure that you had even representation across all states, across all boundaries and territories. That was the entire point of it. You would never have had the Constitution without the Electoral College, because the smaller states would never have signed on to it. They had to be guaranteed that they would have. Georgia had to be awfully sure, in South Carolina, small states with small populations in the South had to be absolutely sure that they were going to have fair representation when competing against New York and Boston and these larger cities, even back in 1773. Now, 1783, I'm sorry. So here's a book I'd like to recommend to Barbara Streisand, because she's dumber than dirt. And this book right here will help educate Barbara Streisand. This book, Miracle at Philadelphia, is literally taken from the handwritten notes by James Madison himself, who took very good notes at the Constitutional Convention, which took place, as you can see, from May through September of 1787, where they actually created the Constitution. In this book, you can read the arguments which Madison took note of, who argued for what position and why. You can read all about it. All the arguments and how we came to have this federal constitution are right here from the handwritten notes of James Madison in this book, The Miracle at Philadelphia, by Catherine Drinker Bowen. B-O-W-E-N. Catherine Bowen. Miracle at Philadelphia. Fantastic book. Should be required reading for every American. If you want to know how our Constitution was created, that's it right there. Taken directly from the notes of James Madison. And you will thoroughly, if you will read that, and read the arguments made by the individuals at the Constitutional Convention, you will understand why we have an electoral college. Unfortunately, Barbara Streisand is dumber than a box of rocks, and she desperately needs a copy of that book, and she needs to read it, assuming she can read. The woman is dumber than dirt, and I can't believe people pay a lick of attention to her. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Trump is now rejecting any calls for expanded background checks. He's actually calling now for mental health reform. He must have watched my video. That's what I said. The problem is the mental health issue, not the gun issue. Thank you very much. Trump comes through again. Now, we have two stories really written today that are important stories by two very good reporters, and they're both saying basically the same thing, and I assume they have different sources. One is by Jerry Dunleavy, and I believe he writes for, well, the main thing I think he writes for is Washington Examiner, but he's a veteran journalist, been around forever, has a lot of sources, and of course Paul Sperry. So Jerry Dunleavy writes an article in the Washington Examiner where he says that he has sources that are telling him that the Horowitz report will target Confusion GPS on the Trump Tower meeting with Don Jr. and Manafort and Kushner, the setup with Veselnitskaya, and that apparently Horowitz is going to blow this wide open in his report, that the meeting at Trump Tower with Trump Jr. was a complete and total setup, and that Confusion GPS was the ones who engineered that setup working with Vetselnskaya and Akhmechan, probably other people as well. We know that McCain had a role to play there with David Kramer. So Jerry Dunleavy saying that his source is telling him that Horowitz is going to blow up Confusion GPS, and the Trump Tower meeting with Vetselnskaya is going to be exposed as a setup to entrap or frame the people who are in the meeting, Manafort, Kushner, Don Jr., and that's going to apparently be in the Horowitz report. And also Dunleavy writing that also he's going to blow up Comey about the briefing with Trump on January 6th, not being a briefing at all, but rather being a attempt to get information that could be used against Trump as part of the counterintelligence investigation. In other words, Comey is going to be exposed by Horowitz in this report that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, that in fact was just another setup, and that it wasn't a defensive briefing, which is what Comey has always said. No, it was actually an attempt by Comey to gain more evidence to be used against Trump as part of the counterintelligence operation. So apparently Dunleavy saying that these two things, and much more, but these specifically two things, are going to be blown up in the IG report. And he's learning that from sources on the inside that I assume he has many of. Then we have Paul Sperry writing an article saying that he too has sources telling him that Horowitz has obtained and examined high-level FBI text messages and other communications indicating that Comey was actively conducting a counterintelligence assessment of Trump during his Trump Tower briefing on January 6th of 2017. Sources are also telling him that Horowitz also knows that Comey planted an agent in the White House, which is a major no-no, because there's supposed to be there's a rule that the FBI doesn't, do that. They don't plant spies in the White House. There's supposed to be a separation, a wall there, and a clear violation. And apparently, this is what the ACLJ. Sekulow, one of Trump's lawyers, his group, is now filed a lawsuit to get all the communications of Comey, and he wants Comey's communications from April the 1st of 2016 through April 30th or May 30th of 2017, and especially all communications with Mr. Ferrante. And that it also would include many other FBI records revolving around Comey and what he was all about at that particular time. So we know that Comey also lied to Congress 2 times under oath and 3 times to Trump's face. He was asked by the Congress if he were investigating the president 2 times under oath. While being questioned by the Congress, Comey said no. He also directly told Trump 3 times, including on the morning of this January 6th, on that alleged briefing, also told Trump he was not a target of the investigation. So things now starting to leak as we're getting closer to the release of the IG report. And some of these things I don't think surprise anybody, but it is a little surprising that you get 2 really pretty hard-hitting, good reporters like Sperry and Dunleavy, probably disassociated from one another, writing very similar type stories about sources telling them. So we already know that the IG report's done. It's been released to bar, that it's going through this process now of determining what's classified and whatever. But so we can assume now that some people have seen it. There's probably people who are being given an opportunity to respond to things made in the report, and that's when you start seeing these leaks. But so far, these are 2 things that we're learning, and this would be absolutely devastating. Now, we know the FISA application is going to be completely blown out of the water. That's already been leaked out, and pretty much we know that's going to be a major scandal. But these other things are new, and maybe that is the reason why Sekulow has decided to go public with the fact that they filed the lawsuit and regarding Comey putting spies into the Trump White House, is because they know that that's in the IG report. It's going to come out, and they've been given the thumbs up. It's okay to go ahead and pursue that. But this is new, hearing about the fact that Horowitz is going to blow up the Trump Tower meeting with Trump Jr. and Vetselnskaya, and also he's going to blow up the Comey meeting with Trump at Trump Tower on January 6th. So a lot of things starting to percolate here as we get closer to probably the release of the IG report and everything that follows. I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty wild fall. It's going to be a pretty wild fall. The last couple months of this year are going to be very, very exciting. So stick around. Much more to come. You guys have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.